When I started doing it, after a few hours of hand copying, I only reached like 5% of the sales letter. I was like, oh wow, this is much, much harder than I was expecting. And so I made a commitment to myself that I wanted to try something and accomplish something that I have never done before and that is extremely challenging for me to do. And so that's one of my main motivators for finishing it. When there were multiple times along the journey where I was like, you can stop, you don't need to finish this. It's too difficult. Nobody's gonna care. But I finished it. So I'm proud of myself for doing that.
Here's the first one, two, the third one, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, and 10. So that's 10 copies of the Gary Bencivenga 100 sales letter, which is his retirement event that he held and he turned into an info product. And these letters were hand copied 10 times by my guest today as part of our Bencivenga 100 scholarship for CopySkills. And the scholarship is you have to hand copy the Bencivenga 100 sales letter 10 times and mail me the physical copies. And if you do, you get a 1 year scholarship to CopySkills, plus you get put on the Bencivenga 100 Wall of Fame, and you get the bragging rights of having done this. Now, this is not an easy feat. I believe it's like 32,000 something words, and it's like more than 20 pages of copy. So it is a feat. It requires a lot of hard work, and sometimes it might seem like unnecessary work. But what it does prove is that one, it proves discipline and it proves the actual willingness to do the hard work of writing copy. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome the first winner of our Bencivenga 100 scholarship, Mohammed Darwisy Akmal. Hey, what's up, bro?
Hey man, thank you. Nice to be.
So besides the scholarship, obviously, what motivated you to take on this task and complete this challenge?
At the beginning, it was the scholarship, but as I realized that this was not an easy task as I thought when I first started doing it, when I started doing it, after a few hours of hand copying, I only reached like 5% of the sales letter. I was like, oh wow, this is much, much harder than I was expecting. And so I made a commitment to myself that I wanted to try something and accomplish something that I have never done before and that is extremely challenging for me to do. And so that's one of my main motivators for finishing it. When there were multiple times along the journey where I was like, you can stop, you don't need to finish this. It's too difficult. Nobody's gonna care. But I finished it. So I'm proud of myself for doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I made the challenge that you write it 10 times as opposed to once, because once, if anybody could grind it camp for a few days and finish it one time, but 10 times is something serious, and you have to actually want to do it to get through. I remember a few years ago there was this copywriter, Justin Blackman. He posted in the Facebook group that he wanted to get better at writing headlines, and he said, I'm going to write 100 headlines a day for 100 days. And people were like, no, you're never going to do it. And he eventually he did it. He wrote 100 headlines for 100 days, and that gave him bragging rights, something to talk about. It got him podcast invites and things like that. So it's just about actually just saying, okay, listen, this is something I'm going to do. It's going to be hard. It's going to suck. I'm going to hate it at times, but I'm just going to get it done. Based off of that, like, how long did it take you to write one letter one time? And then how long did it take you from start to finish, from the day that you decided, okay, I'm going to do this challenge until you put the final full stop?
So basically what I did was that I saved the web page as a PDF. And so for me, it was roughly 69 pages long, right? And so each page for me to handwrite down took me half an hour to do. And so for all 69 pages, really 68 pages because the last page was really short, it took me 34 hours to finish one set. And so it took me 340 hours to finish all 10 sets of the letter.
That's crazy. So So that's the actual number of hours spent. But what about from day one to day whatever? Like, what did it take you a month to finish? 2 months?
So it was it was really tight. Basically, I found your website at the end of the year, and halfway through the challenge, I was like halfway giving up. So I joined your membership for a month to see if it was worth it. And I was like, oh wow, this is worth it. So I canceled my membership and I said, I'm not going to look through any of these courses until I finish writing these letters. So I started from the end of November until the end of December. So it took me about 30 days for me to finish. It took me on average 10 hours per day to do it. It ranged from 8 to 12 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, so you just did nothing else, just camped this thing for a whole month, 10 hours a day until you finished it.
Yeah, absolutely. I woke up, I wrote it, ate, wrote it again, slept, and then just a cycle over and over again. That was what I did.
That's crazy. So that was your process, huh? Like you just wanted to, okay, this is it. This is the only thing I'm doing. I'm just going to get it done. Because a lot of people they'll break it up because they have other responsibilities. Maybe they've got a job and things like that. So they might do it for an hour a day in the morning, but you decided, okay, this is the only thing that I'm gonna do.
If I discovered it much earlier in the year, I would have considered that. But there was extra pressure on me to finish it by the end of the year because I felt like it was a limited time scholarship. I was thinking, man, it's the end of the year. I don't think I should take up this challenge. I can't do this, but I ended up doing it anyway. Yeah, so I just blocked 1 month of my time to just finish it.
Amazing. And so what are like your obviously this would have taken your entire day pretty much. So what are your other responsibilities? Do you go to school? Are you a working man?
So I used to be a real estate agent, and I recently quit to decide to pursue the idea of being a copywriter. And so, yeah, and that's when I coincidentally found you and your website. And I think the stars aligned and I continued to do your scholarship for a month because I already had the savings from my real estate job previously.
And what made you decide to quit real estate to become a copywriter? Because I think it's easier to make money in real estate, maybe.
Personally, for me, I think for me personally, I think my sales job wasn't very fulfilling for me emotionally. And so I felt writing was just a much more interesting prospect for me as a career path. I actually used to write poetry. I actually have a blog, a private blog, an honest blog where I write stuff online. And so I felt like copywriting was just this natural extension of my journey towards becoming a writer.
You said you've only been a copywriter for a month. Did you study anything in copywriting prior to this, or what was your process for coming to copywriting or deciding, okay, let me try to figure this out and see if I can turn this into a living?
When I was a real estate agent, we had to write ads. So that was my first introduction to copywriting, even though I didn't know the term copywriting back then, which was writing these ads and like figuring out a way to convert them. Honestly, back then, since I didn't know much, it didn't work that well. Recently, as I've been getting into this more seriously and knowing more about what copywriting actually is and how it's not copyright, I've been looking into books, I've been reading books, Carl Milligan, which I believe you did a course on his website. And that's actually how I found you, actually, you and your website. I read his book, NESB, I think. Oh no, I read his book, Take His Money,
Take their
Take Your
money,
Money.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
take
so
their
I
money.
read
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so I read that. I read some other books like, let me see. Yeah, I'm blanking out on the books here, but yeah. I read a couple of copywriting books from some copywriting legends. Yeah.
Awesome. And what about online courses? Did you take any online courses?
Actually, no, I haven't taken any online course before this.
You pretty much don't have to. Most of the stuff that you need to know you can really find in $10 books anyway and free resources. If you're just starting out and trying to learn from scratch, you're better off going the free material YouTube channels, podcasts, and buying a few cheap books to start your learning. And while you were hand copying this letter, did you also study the letter as you hand copied it to try to figure out what's going on, or were you just focused on getting this done as fast as possible?
For the most part, I just focus on writing it and not really studying it. But I do think the process of writing it is studying it because I saw these patterns emerging over and over again, which I probably didn't understood as like a specific concept, but which I understood intuitively meant that something that was meant to persuade me into reading more and to be persuaded into purchasing this DVD course in the sales letter. Something I've noticed was I went through the Internet Archive for this sales letter. I believe it was 10 years ago. And the difference between the sales letter 10 years ago and is now is that there are way more testimonials now than there were back then. And if you like hand wrote the letters, like all 10 letters, 300,000 words total, you'll notice that the testimonials comprise like 30 to 40% of this entire sales letter, which I thought was quite shocking to me, was like how much social proof was in there. And so I realized, okay, what this was trying to tell me was that social proof and like testimonials and all that were extremely important to convince people into purchasing your product as a form of safety and security. There was a minor thing I noticed when I first opened the web page, which was that Gary Bencivenga, you had his portrait there. I think he had his photo there looking at you. I remember reading in a copywriting book that apparently that actually increases sales to have someone looking directly at you in the sales letter. There were these little things that were popping up here and there that I noticed were lessons embedded within the letter that was just there for me to uncover.
Okay, and so besides the testimonials, okay, and the social proof comprising almost half of the letter, and the patterns that you saw emerge, what did you learn about the letter or about copywriting, either about Gary Bencivenga's writing specifically or copywriting in general?
So if we were to look at Gary Bencivenga, I remember handwriting other copywriters before, and something I've noticed with Gary Bencivenga actually is that he has a very casual, simple, but yet elegant way of writing. He isn't unnecessarily verbose. His copy flows. There were a couple of like standout phrases to me, like rivers of revenue. And so there was a certain sense of craving I had when I was reading the copy, which is hard to describe, but it felt like I just want to keep reading it. And there were maybe certain the sales letter is about the seven secrets and like other things that will help you to become a better copywriter or marketer. And there was some secrets that stood out to me and that grabbed me. And so I think, yeah, there's a certain elegance in his writing that I think as a newbie, maybe I can't fully comprehend yet. But I think along the way, I'm going to really appreciate the fact that I looked into it and the fact that it subconsciously seeped into my writing as well, I think.
And have you done any client work yet as a freelance copywriter or no, not yet?
Not yet, but I have a client that I'm discussing with at the moment, and it's going to be proceeding. We're going to have the meeting in like a couple of days or so. Yeah.
Inshallah, inshallah. And did you mention to him that you had hand copied this letter 10 times or no?
I was thinking of mentioning it like after maybe the interview gets posted or something like that. So I can
Okay,
say,
so
hey,
what I'll do for you is I'll expedite this and I'll try to post it as fast as possible. So just let me know when the meeting is and I'll try to have it all up before the meeting so you can show it to him on the call.
yeah, I appreciate it.
And so you've done the handwriting and you've noticed these different elements of persuasion in Gary Bencivenga's copy. Do you think that even though you're not an experienced writer, do you think that you'd be able to apply this writing, or will this style of writing basically come out of your hand as you write your own copy for clients? Do you think that's possible for you?
I was writing for my website recently after I finished hand copying all the letters. And I noticed the way I wrote, I can't tell because I'm a newbie, but I looked at it and felt, wow, this was pretty good. I don't think I could have written like this if I had not done the sales letters beforehand. I feel pretty confident that I can do this same thing for my clients.
Perfect. And then, so that's something that people tend to, a lot of people will tend to poo-poo hand copying sales letters now because it's not in fashion. The fashionable thing now is to so quote unquote study the sales letters and mark it up and things like that with a tablet and write notes in the margin and things like that. And apparently that's supposed to be better. But there is something to be said about the kinesthetic learning and the passive learning that you absorb by actually just writing the copy by hand. So it will be interesting to see if you, as a copywriter, having not gone through that many courses or books before, if just having done this one thing brings your copy up to a noticeable extent where just the act of hand copying itself taught you something about copy that right now you can't even put it into words, but what on the page will be something that passes as legit copy.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see a few years down the line how I would compare to someone who started at the same time as me, but who didn't do that. Yeah.
I think just from personal experience, I think you have a significant advantage over somebody who's just going through the podcast courses, YouTube channels route. One, because you've done something super hard that nobody's willing to do. And two, you actually learn something. And I don't even know the scientific way to explain it, but I'm pretty sure you would have learned something where listening to podcasts and watching YouTube channels wouldn't have the same effect. So you're brand new, right? Have you decided on a niche or what type of clients that you want to serve, or you're just trying to take whatever opportunities come your way just to get as much practice as you can?
So basically, my plan was to, at least in my website and like in my outreach, I would probably focus and niche down on email marketing. But if they were to ask me to do like other kinds of copy, like sales letters or website copywriting, I will totally do that as well, so that I can gain the experience and the overall knowledge of the whole sphere of copywriting.
Now you have your scholarship to CopySkills, so we'll be working together closely to help you with that. To help you get clients or critique your copy, answer your business questions along the way. And so with that said, how can people get a hold of you if they want to hire you as a copywriter?
Right. So you can email me at darwisyakmal.com, or you can visit my website, darwisyakmal.com. I think there'll be a link.
Yeah, I'll
Uh,
put the link. It might be a little bit difficult to spell for some people, so I'll put a link in the description. Awesome, man. I'm really grateful to you for actually having done this. One, because it's nice to have put out this challenge and to have the opportunity to give somebody a scholarship who's actually finished this. Two, because you never messaged me about, hey, I'm going to do this challenge. Watch me do it. There was a bunch of people when I posted the challenge first, where it's like when I post the challenge either on socials or on the website, I didn't put the mailing address. So a lot of people replied and said, hey, what's the mailing address when we want to send it to you? And my reply was, have you finished writing it? So if you haven't finished writing it, you don't need to know the address. And a bunch of people said, hey, I'm going to do this. My response was, no, you're not going to do it, because people who are going to do it aren't going to talk about it. So you didn't talk about it. I saw you join CopySkills. I saw you cancel your subscription. I thought maybe this is not for him. I didn't hear a word from you other than that. You didn't tell me, hey, I'm going to do this challenge. The first time I hear from you is when you email me, hey, I finished the challenge. Where do I send the letter? So I thank you for that. I'm very grateful for that, for actually not being a talker and being an actual doer.
yeah, I read I believe it was a blog post where you talked about talk is cheap and all that. And when I looked at the scholarship page, I realized that was the embodiment of that ideal, which was to do something extremely hard. And I know is where you wrote it, where it's like, don't ask any stupid questions, just finish it and then ask me for the mailing address. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And so I think this is the first time we've met, but I think if you have the discipline to be able to do this, I think you have what it takes to at least make a full-time living as a copywriter. Because people don't realize how much work it involves and how hard it is to actually start a business, just start any business in general. But then when you layer onto it, on top of that, reading and writing millions of words every year, it becomes something quite difficult. So I think I'm hoping you have what it takes to be a successful copywriter. And then in any case, in CopySkills, we're going to be helping you achieve whatever your goals are as well.
Yeah, I appreciate the words of encouragement. I will definitely work hard for myself and to prove to everyone at CopySkills and elsewhere that you can achieve what's necessary to be a full-time copywriter.
Yeah. And then just to close it off, so what Darwish is getting is he's getting a 1 year scholarship to CopySkills. He gets the opportunity to post on his website as seen in CopySkills and put our logo on his website. I know there's some other websites that are doing it in a kind of a shady way where they're promising an interview with you where the interview is just a type form that they just republish your responses on the website. And that's the kind of, you can say it works, that you can say your name has been seen on that website, but they didn't earn it. They didn't do anything to earn it other than put their email address in a form and fill out a type form. But here, this is something where you've actually earned it. And so you have every right to say, as seen in CopySkills. And as CopySkills grows, as the CopySkills brand grows, that badge on your website is going to mean more, more and more. So you have that bragging right. We're going to put this interview up on our YouTube channel. You'll get the benefits of SEO there. You'll get your own dedicated landing page on the CopySkills website as one of our scholarship winners. And we will link to your own website and socials as well so that people can find you that way. And just by doing this one very difficult thing, you get a bunch of other benefits other than the scholarship. For those of you who are watching this and want to attempt, you need to go find the Bencivenga 100 sales letter, which is very easy to find. Just Google Bencivenga 100 sales letter. And that's another thing. We'll say, I don't even post the link. Did I post it? Actually, I posted the link on the page, but when I posted it on social media, I didn't give the link. And people were going like, what's the link? What's the link? If you don't have 2 seconds to Google the link, then copywriting is not for you. Just go find the Bencivenga 100 sales letter link, hand copy it 10 times. Don't tell me about it. Just message me when you finish and I'll give you the mailing address. And that's how you win the Bencivenga 100 scholarship like Darwish has done. Darwish, thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time and I look forward to working with you in CopySkills. And maybe we'll do some other business together as well, because it's hard to find copywriters who are disciplined enough to do the hard work. This is like a huge signal that even if you have no experience as a copywriter, it's a signal that you might be somebody who's worth working with.
Thanks for the opportunity, Nabil.